23. As we've been hearing, official warning notices are now being given to motorists who do not abide by rules over a new Busgate, although fines are not expected to be handed out until March. The Busgate at Mill Road Bridge prohibits most motor vehicles, except buses, the emergency services, taxis and blue badge holders registered vehicles. And to talk about that, I'm pleased to say I'm joined by Neil Shailor, Councillor Neil Shailor. He's the Vice Chair of the Highways and Transport Committee at Cambridgeshire County Council. Good morning to you, Neil.
Oh, very good morning to you as well.
Thank you very much for coming in. Now, this feels, well, as I say, feels like it's been going on forever. It has been going on forever. But towards, I guess, the end of December, that was when markings started to appear on the roads. The Busgate was put in, I think cameras were put up as well, and we've now reached the time when if anybody goes over the bridge and they shouldn't, they're going to get a letter in the post. Have I got that right as to how it's going to work?
That's absolutely correct. For this month there'll be letters in the post, and then we're not expecting the actual fines until next month.
Right. I guess there's some people who are well aware of what's going on and they're happily going over the bridge and they're thinking to themselves, well, I'm not going to get a fine, I might as well do it. But there will become a time when they will get a fine. Are you going to make that absolutely clear as to when that time actually is?
Yes, and before the fines actually come into play, we will be out with the comms for sure, so that people will be under no illusions, as it were.
Now, if I was to drive over, and I have to say I'd much rather walk over Mill Road Bridge than drive any day, but if I was to drive over, what would the letter say?
It would say that you are not permitted to drive over unless you are one of these classes. And if you think, for instance, that you might be a carer or a supporter for somebody from within the area, if you think that there might be a possibility that you would be one of the people that should be exempt, then get in touch. So during the time of the letters, we want to encourage anybody to come forward who think they might be in one of those classes that we have identified. And we will look at others on the edge, case by case.
Okay, so it's not necessarily a hard and fast rule. If there's somebody, obviously you have to have a good reason, but it's
Yes.
not. There's a little bit of leeway here, I guess, is what seems to be happening.
Well, there are hard and fast rules, but the whole idea of the scheme is to get that through traffic. The stuff that starts at one end of Mill Road and goes all the way to the other end of Mill Road. It is the most dangerous street in the whole of Cambridgeshire at the moment for walking and cycling. And it is difficult on a high street to have thousands of people trying to shop, trying to get to school and all that sort of stuff, and then squeeze those cars into that narrow way across. So we really don't want to inhibit people on their normal around Mill Road activities.
Right, so just to focus in on the exemptions, particularly for the disabled, just having a badge, you still have to apply for permission, if you like, rather than just driving over your badge. You'll still be fined unless you get in touch and get a special exemption from you.
You will be issued with a fine, but you won't have to pay it if you apply.
Okay,
So
that's
we have
straightforward.
a system at county which is, if in doubt, bail out. So we don't try and play hardball on these sort of things.
I'll bear that in mind, bearing in mind that the county council are responsible for the parking permits outside this studio. You might expect we've had the occasional ticket from time to time. And you also for carers then. So if you are a carer, you can write in as well for that and also get an exemption.
Absolutely. There are obviously people who come from outside the area and they just come to somewhere, and then it really doesn't matter. It mostly affects people closest to the gate, where you would otherwise have to drive all the way around. And so
So I guess those people living in and around the streets off of Mill Road, really.
And if you go to the website, there's a map. And my street, where I live, is Cromwell Road, and just the end of Cromwell Road is in that zone, and where I live is just outside of it, because it would be just as easy for me to drive around.
Okay, now that makes sense. What, I don't know, it's possibly too early, but are you getting a sense for where the traffic that would normally go from one end of Mill Road to the other where is that ending up now? Because I know some people are concerned that it just transfers the problem to another part of Cambridge.
Yeah. And it's a legitimate concern. What was surprising during the previous closures, especially the one in 2019, we saw a threefold increase in cycling on Mill Road, and that was when all motor vehicles were stopped. And we stopped people and asked them, were you driving before? And surprisingly, they said that when they said yes, it was because it was safer. So they were cycling their kids to school, they went on to work. Of course, you don't drive on just one street. So that actually removed traffic from the surrounding streets. So there are those cars that will be transferred to Cherry Hinton Road or Coldham's Lane, but that is compensated by the reduction of traffic overall. And that was a bit of a surprise, but it's there in the statistics.
Okay. And will you be continuing to do some research over, I don't know, I guess over the next 12 months or so?
Absolutely. And we were very strong on this. Certainly I was very strong on, as part of the TRO legal requirement is to monitor all of those streets around. And we know there are problematic streets that come onto Mill Road, and so this is an ongoing process.
And it is tricky. I guess you either walked or cycled here this morning, being fairly close. But for at the moment, for example, Gwyder Street, which I'm sure is the most dug up street in the whole of Cambridge, they always seem to be closing it off for some reason or another. That's closed, so cars then have to go down Kingston Street, which is normally one way. It doesn't take much to need some sort of minor reconfiguration.
Oh, absolutely, and this is such a nightmare for us, you can imagine. And what's particularly annoying for me is that you have highways maintenance written on private companies that dig up the road for their own profits these days. So, I would love to get on that. And the thing is, we can't actually stop them, but what we can do is sequence things and make sure we have proper diversions. And sometimes that means two different companies can't do it at the same time. And it's also a problem when it comes to catch up on all of the repairs that we really, really need to. We can't shut down the system while we're doing it.
Have you worked out how much money you might raise from the various fines when people do go over Mill Road Bridge when they shouldn't?
The whole point of it really is not to make money, as you would understand. It's to create a safe and an environment that is better for shopping. I mean, the high streets all over the country are under pressure because of online shopping and that sort of stuff. And so we have found in other places where we remove this sort of traffic, it improves footfall. But yes, there will be money, and that money has to be ring fenced. It has to stay within highways.
So what will happen to it? Will it help fix the potholes, dare I say?
It will.
Okay, that's good. Not necessarily worth going up and down and giving you extra money to do
why
so.
not?
I guess I'm trying to think. I accidentally got caught. I should know better. I got caught on Jesus Green. I just went through the Busgate there, and I think it was like £35 because I paid it quickly. Nobody to blame but myself because I just didn't see the signs and wasn't used to the road.
Well, thanks for the support.
I know it's another pothole filled. I guess it is at the sort of level it's going to be, like £35 if you pay it quickly.
Absolutely.
£70 is it?
£70 if you don't get round to it.
Okay, and no estimates for how much you might gather as a result.
No, some of the other ones, some of them make about 80,000 a year, that sort of thing. It'll be around that, I imagine.
Okay, so £80,000.
That's right. It can be that high. It can be that high.
That sounds quite a few potholes, really, doesn't it?
It does.
Graham, who I suspect by the looks of things isn't a fan of the Mill Road Busgate, says, "Morning. What if thousands of motorists for the next month continue to drive over the bridge? That should keep the council busy and cost them a lot of money. I guess it won't cost you anything, really, will it, for the next month?"
Once it's for the next month, it'll be these automatic letters that go out and that sort of stuff. And of course, we have systems. It actually doesn't cost that much. There is an administrative cost, of course. Actually, it's a massive cost to get to where we are, making sure that we have all the rules in the right place and all the regulations and legal systems. That costs.
Yes, no, it'll be interesting to see the numbers on that when they're made available, as no doubt they will be at some point in the future. Neil, look, thank you very much for coming in and talking us through that. If somebody is listening, think I need an exemption here, I definitely qualify. What do they need to do in order to get that?
The very first thing, go to the website, look at parking regulations, but you can search up Cambridgeshire County Council and put in Mill Road restrictions, that sort of thing. You will find it. And then you will get to the pages, and there's a bunch of ones. For instance, emotional support and reassurance. This is a kind of caring, or doing the shopping for somebody, or, you know. So have a look at that website, see if you might fall into one of those categories, and by all means, get in touch.
Okay.
Email me if you have to, but do get in touch.
That's good, very clear. Neil, thank you very much indeed. That's Councillor Neil Shailor, who's Vice Chair of the Highways and Transport Committee at Cambridgeshire County Council. Neil, thanks for coming in.